Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. This is another new series that we're discussing, although with a little twist.
Yes, it is. We, yes, it is. It is with the twist. Go ahead, Brandon. Tell them about the twist.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mom, tell us what show we're watching.
Agatha All Along.
Yes, and so the twist is that we've been speaking about different shows that have debuted in this television series season right now, the fall 2024 season. And so we are speaking about it, the first two episodes, as a part of that. But we're also going a little further and speaking about episodes 3 and 4 that have since debuted.
Yes, we are. We are.
Yeah, and so, Mom, I did want to allow for us to go ahead and start with discussion of the first two episodes.
Alrighty. So, alrighty. And so I'm just going to give a very, very vague introduction to the show. I don't want to give away any spoilers, so everything I says will just kind of be very generic, or at least at the beginning part of this discussion anyway, will be pretty generic. I know that a lot of discussions have already been online, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it too. Anyway, this series is actually is it a sequel, Brandon? Is that what you're going to call it? A sequel?
Yeah, we can call it a sequel miniseries to WandaVision.
All right. So a sequel miniseries to WandaVision, and at the beginning of this particular plot, Agnes, who at this time is being Agatha or Agnes, being called Agnes at this time, is called in to investigate a murder. She is a homicide detective, or at least that's what it seems like anyway. She's called in to see what happened to this particular person. At this time, she does not know who the person is who's been murdered. She goes to the crime scene. She kind of investigates and then goes back to the police station later. Um, we later find out, and this is sometime during the first bit of the episode, and it's still not saying that much, that this is Wanda whose body she has found. Um, Through all of this, we find out she knows one of the detectives there, or actually she's a federal, I think she's calling herself some sort of federal detective. And this lady, we later find out, is actually someone who's related to Agatha. And then by speaking, they kind of realize, Agatha realizes that she was a witch at one time, and that she did know Wanda, and she now needs to get her powers back. I know I left out a lot, but that's about as generic as I could be. And then just one other part that's really important to know, not only with this detective, agent, whatever she is, there is also a young man who's introduced at the beginning of this episode, and he's a teenager. And at this point in time, we're calling him Teen because that's what she calls him. And so, and I think both these two characters are the most important characters to know based upon the first two episodes. All right, Brandon. I know it was very vague.
Well, Mom, of course, thank you so much for your brief synopsis.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and of course, just overall spoiler warning is a just in case for all things Marvel Cinematic Universe. But Mom, overall, what were your thoughts to this episode?
To the first two episodes, my overall thoughts were it took me, and I'll admit it took me a couple times watching it. And but once I actually sat down and watched it fully all the way through, I enjoyed what I saw. It does take a minute for you kind of get into that groove of the show, but once I did like the development. I didn't see it at first, just because I was a little sleepy when I watched it the first time. But after watching it the second time, yeah, once you get into the groove of it, you can kind of see what's happening. And I think we ended up just kind of binging the first four.
Yeah, definitely. We did end up binging a little bit in our rewatch, and you mentioned too that of course we got introduced to two characters. The other uh, sort of detective. She's not really a detective, of course, but the other character, I don't remember what her name is, alongside Teen.
Yeah. Well, actually, what's interesting about Teen is they don't ever really say his name. They just it's kind of muffled, and every time Teen talks about his life, they muffle that too.
Yeah, so I'm definitely very intrigued as to what Teen's story is, and I will say within these first two episodes that we see quite a bit of the residents of Westview that we saw back in WandaVision.
Yeah, we did, and which I know I shouldn't have been surprised, but when I kind of watched it again, I said, "Oh, I recognize these people."
Yeah, and I love sort of the complexities they added to it. That they're the same people that you recognize, but in the same regard of that these are their real lives and not the fictitious lives that Wanda made for them.
Yes, yes,
But yeah, and well, I did want to mention within this first episode that the first half of it, give or take, or at least the majority of it, is also set within a sort of fictitious life for Agatha.
yeah. It is. I thought they did a really nice job actually portraying her as the detective. I mean, it was really kind of convincing. So yes, they did a nice job doing that.
Yeah, and I love the layers they add to it. I mean, I know both of us really enjoyed watching WandaVision as it came out, lots of mystery. But, of course, we are big sitcom people, which that series is focused on. This is more of a drama, so to speak, but it still has all that same mystery that we have. And so, since it's sort of, WandaVision was in this first episode of Agatha, we're sort of a show within a show. I think it's just so intriguing that now we're speaking about it on our show.
Yes, yes. And unfortunately, I was not able to pick out the detective series that they refer to. So those people who do know what the detective series are, please write them in the comments. It'd be interesting to see, what shows they were referencing.
Yeah, I know we don't watch a lot of detective series, but I'd be very intrigued to see which one they were referencing. And they had a little theme song for the fictitious show Agnes of Westview.
They did, they did. It was cute and catchy.
Yeah, and one of the things that intrigued me actually, the thing that threw me off the most actually was in viewing the credits. I knew that they were character credits, but I had to rewind it after we saw it just because I was like, I don't recognize these names. And who is Agnes O'Connor? And it took me a moment to fully put everything together because I don't think, to the best of my knowledge anyway, that back in WandaVision we even established what Agnes's supposed last name would be.
No, and well, I probably wouldn't have paid much attention to it.
But yeah, so it's definitely interesting. But I like how they did it, and she was and Agatha was able to unpeel the complexities, and we're introduced to some new characters in episode 2.
Yep, we are. You are, Brandon. I'm gonna let you take care of explaining kind of who they are.
Yeah, so within the second episode, we are introduced to sort of the witches of Agatha's coven, and so um, that she has to put together in order to regain her powers. And Mom, I believe you took a quick list as to who these characters are.
Yeah, and I'll kind of tell about the powers of it. It looks like they have someone has to have the power of divination. It's someone named Lilia. We have they consider the green person the boy. um, they have they need to have someone that's a mama witch, I believe. No, protection. I'm sorry. They have to have a protective witch, and this is Alice Goulivier. And then there's one more. And then we have a potions witch who is Jennifer or Jen.
Yeah, and so in that too, I know that I believe the Green Witch was supposed to be, um, you know, was supposed to be Agatha's arch nemesis that we saw posing as the detective earlier. I don't remember what her name is, but they had Mrs. Hart take that role instead.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, she was an interesting little neighbor, so they did have her go ahead and take that role.
Yeah, and so overall, like, what were your thoughts about? I mean, these two episodes overall before we head to episodes 3 and 4.
Well, I mean, I thought for a beginning that I thought they did a nice job kind of gathering. They gathered, the first one laid the background, the second one actually brought all the people together. So I thought they did a nice job doing that.
Yeah, and I know, comparing and contrasting a little to WandaVision from what we remember of it anyway. I know that was, of course, January 2021, but so it's been a moment. But I do remember, yeah, there was a lot of mystery surrounding it. We didn't really know what was going on. And I feel like we had those sort of same feelings going into Agatha.
Yeah, we did. There was quite a bit of mystery around it, and you did have to wonder what will be the next thing that goes on for the next two episodes.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we actually now have seen the next two episodes.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, and so did you want to quickly go over what happened in episodes 3 and 4? So before we head into episodes 3 and 4, were there any questions that you remembered from these first two episodes that we saw?
No, no, go ahead, Brandon. You can start into 3 and 4.
Okay, well, I'll start off with some of the questions I had. I was curious as to who exactly this teen is, and the connection that he has, and then also, but I know with Vidal, I was curious a little bit as to her connection, but I didn't really know enough about her character. But I really was intrigued about the teen. Yeah, who is he? Is he related to somebody? Related to Agatha? Related to Wanda? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you're right. When you asked me if I had questions, that was one I did have written down. Was what is the relationship with the teen? I have some suspicions, but yes.
But yeah, so going into episodes 3 and 4, so within episodes 3 and 4, they've made it to the road. This is a mystical land where basically by the end of it, the witches can get their powers, assuming that they all survive. And so largely, these episodes put them through some tests. And so episode 3 test was largely about Jen, whereas episode 4, if I remember correctly, was about Alice.
Yes, it was, Brandon.
Yeah, and something I wanted to actually ask you about that, is that the series seems to really rely heavily on music for telling its story.
Yeah, it did. The one song that they sing over and over again, yes, it is a song that stands out. And so, yeah, it does rely heavily on the music, and is a catchy song that you just remember.
Yeah, you really do, and it should come to no surprise that the composers and theme music composers from WandaVision returned back from here. I looked them up a little bit, and they are known for quite catchy songs, such as with the Wonder Pets, and with the songs from Frozen, Let It Go. Of course, alongside all the WandaVision songs, to include Agatha All Along, which is now the name of this series.
Yes, yes, and that was one of the first things that I noticed about the series was the song itself. It just stood out.
And I think too is that even though of course it's a song about like the witch's road, so to speak, I feel like it sort of helps attribute a little bit more of a lighthearted nature than I think we traditionally see for a show. I mean, about witches.
Yeah, it does. Of course, I told you I thought immediately of the Wizard of Oz, but yes, I thought yes, yeah, it does kind of make it a little bit. Well, for me, this is kind of hard to be lighthearted, but I guess they're trying to put a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, and I'd say it's actually a little bit more with the humor too, and
Mhm.
that Agatha's character I think is just so over everybody.
Yeah, she is, and the characters. It's an interesting character to watch.
But yeah, and so we learned a little bit about each of the characters, over the course of these two episodes, and we also say goodbye to another character.
We do, but we don't want to tell the audience who that is quite yet.
Yeah, yeah, but definitely make sure that you tune in. But yeah, so overall, like, what are your thoughts about some of the characters that we see? And introduce any questions from episodes 3 and 4. I do know we hear that Agatha apparently had a baby at some point.
Yeah, that's brought up. One of the things that will say that I do like about the third and fourth episode, even though they're just very brief, we do get to get a little bit of the characterization of the characters, and so we do get to know a little bit more about them, which I think is nice and kind of helps you to kind of bond a little bit more with the characters that are there.
Yeah, and what would you say overall that, I mean, your thoughts are? Like, any big questions now that we are 4 episodes, into the series? And I'm pretty sure that we still have a few episodes left because it does go through majority of October, I believe, ending October 30th.
Okay. Yeah. Well, once, like you said, the character of the teen, who is he? Who is he related to? I have my suspicions. Um, what is his name? Because they're purposely not saying what his name is. Um, is is Agatha really related to this lady who they claim that she's related to? I mean, based upon what we saw in the fourth, maybe not. So I don't know. Um, what is her true relationship with, with this everything that's going on? Um, we've got the singer out of the group, and so he's like, "What is her significance?" I mean, after they all kind of get their power, will they all get their power at the end? Will they all kind of remain together? Will they separate a little later? Will they all make it to the end? So, I mean, I guess those are things. And then what will happen to Agatha at the end? She gets there. She gets her power. Then what? Does she go back to her fictitious town? Does she kind of go? Does she go to a new town? Did you find the yellow brick road? I don't know. So so the question is what happens later.
Yeah, and I would love to see more of the residents of Westview. At some point in time, even if it's just another time in passing, just because I think that they are just such a amusing group, and I love that they were able, like I said, to bring them back, especially Mrs. Hart, who I thought was, is just such a comic relief character, to this otherwise semi-serious show. So I hope that we'll get to see more of these Westview residents.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, and I did want to note too that it is actually 5 episodes left. The
Okay.
last 2 episodes will be at once on October 30th.
Okay. Well, look forward to seeing them then, Brandon.
But yeah, and overall, like, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Of course, aside from that first episode, there's not a traditional theme song. Being a Marvel Studios now branded as Marvel Television Project, but they do have a instrumental end theme that they. Well, actually, no, it has some words to it. I think it's like down, down, down the road or something.
Yeah. I wonder why it's called that, Brandon. It was. They say that. But yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's just catchy.
So yeah, but is there anything else that you would like I said, to see from this? And I heard a little bit. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. That these two series are potentially going to be a part of a trilogy series.
Oh, well, that'll be interesting. Interesting to see who they pick for the third part that they'll talk about.
Yeah, I truly have no idea. I had just found out about that part from just doing a little bit of research. So I'm trying not to get spoiled for that, but I'm curious to see if that does remain true. If this series will connect to the other one, or if they're going to let them be stay. If they're going to let them be standalone.
Yeah. We'll have to see. We'll talk about that when we get to the last episode. We'll kind of talk about that and see what our thoughts are.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very excited for that. And I did want to say, just as my one hope for the end of the series, we'll see if it works or not. Probably not. But I did want to see, even though we saw, Wanda dead, is there any possibility of her, coming back to life by the end of the series?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if they do allow that.
Yeah, because I definitely really enjoyed Wanda's character from WandaVision, so I would love to see her return to some capacity or, another within the MCU.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, and before we close this out, I did want to briefly mention a connection. So the character of Jen, we actually recognize her from another series.
We do. We do.
Yes, and so the actress Sashir Zamata, she was previously in Home Economics.
Yep, and we talked about that. Oh gosh, probably about a year or so ago. So yeah.
But yeah, and of course, this is within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so it's connected to like the movie The Marvels that we saw, and alongside very indirectly the show Marvel's Agents of Shield that we spoke about here on the channel as well.
Yes. We try to keep everything in the family.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this, and I will say, even though you've never seen the series, I did want to tell you that the character of the teen um, is currently on another very popular show, Heartstopper, right now.
Okay. All right. Might be something I have to check out too.
But yeah, like I said, well, Mom, is there anything you wanted to say before we close this out? And um, yeah.
No, I look forward to watching the rest. And so we said that we would get back together again and talk about the last 5 episodes.
Yes, I'm very excited for that. If you have any questions for us that you'd like us to answer during that second discussion, let us know in the comments.
Yes, please do. All right. Thank you guys for watching today.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye bye, everybody.